Hello there, you're watching In the Loop. This is the weekly theme park news show from Park Rush. I'm Tom. Joining me, as ever, is Josh.
Hello there.
Hello there, Josh. How's it going?
I'm good, thank you. How about yourself?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. I make no apologies for wearing my colours on my sleeve this evening. As of recording, I've spent the day in the nippy but pleasant sunshine watching the mighty Arsenal take one step closer to their first league title since I was at primary school, which is a scary thing to say, but that is the case.
Wow.
And I make no apologies for it. I'm balancing it out because there may be theme park fans that aren't Arsenal fans, but I assume everyone watching this is a theme park fan. So I'm balancing out by having my evening brew in a Nemesis mug.
Oh, look at that.
R.I.P. Nemesis.
Oh, God, hopefully not.
Well, yes, no, R.I.P. Nemesis. We talked about it last week, Josh. Have you already forgotten?
No, it's coming back, Tom. We just don't know in what state.
Well, I mean, it's unlikely to be exactly the same. No, Nemesis, as we know it, is dead.
Well, some of the rumors are that it's just a retrack. Yeah, hopefully it's just a retrack. If it's more than a retrack, if they get rid of the ride, there's going to be outrage. I'm never going back to Alton Towers.
Riots, pitchforks, and torches.
Yeah.
Yeah, never mind the cost of living crisis getting people out on the streets. It'll be Nemesis being replaced.
There's dozens
That's what
of us.
really will. I'm sure there are. Anyway, if you're new here, hello, welcome along. This is, as I say, the weekly theme park news show from Park Rush. Park Rush being a weekly theme park podcast, which has been going since 2018, primarily focused these days on trip reports from theme park days out that we have actually had or that friends of the show have had, and therefore the news agenda has moved on over here to the YouTube channel. If you want to keep up with everything that Park Rush gets up to, then the best place to go is links.parkrush.com, because that's where you can find links to everywhere that we live on the internet, from TikTok to Instagram, from Twitter to Patreon. And if you want to subscribe to the Park Rush podcast, then you can do so wherever you get your podcasts. But as for the In the Loop this week, we've got a fine selection of stories, Josh, so I feel like we should just get into it here.
Absolutely.
And we're going to start with, some troubling news, I suppose, and that's Hurricane Ian, which lashed Florida with incredible winds and rain and a very dangerous storm surge this past week. Now, I think we do have to say and sort of caveat the discussion that we're about to have by saying that ultimately a bit of damage and inconvenience for Florida's theme parks really doesn't mean much at all, given that this has been an incredibly serious hurricane, not just for Florida, but for Cuba as well. And now it's heading, as of recording, to the Carolinas. It's caused some pretty astonishing damage to parts of Florida. People have lost their homes. People have lost loved ones. People have lost power. Millions of people have lost power at one point. So this has been a very serious storm, one of the most powerful to ever hit the US. I think the fifth strongest to hit the US.
Blimey.
And a real serious storm. The worst Florida has had for quite a few years. So, as I say, I feel it was important just to get that out of the way and make clear that theme park stuff is small fry, and anyone that's been affected.
Good thing the Florida governor isn't a climate change denier.
Yes, thank goodness that is indeed the case. He's focused on all the really important issues, like can we talk about LGBT relationships at school?
Yes.
It's good to know, I'm sure, that he is focused on the issues that really matter to the people of Florida. Anyway, that's enough politicking. So Hurricane Ian, yes, as I say, anyone who's been affected, our hearts go out to you. So far as the theme parks are concerned, I kind of got COVID vibes. They got back to relative normality a lot quicker than I would have expected when I saw some of the scenes. But as of recording, Disney World and Universal have at least begun a phased reopening this weekend, the first weekend of October. And we got two write-ups here that kind of give a sense of where we're at. We'll head to this Deadline article first on Universal, which seems to me, Josh, like maybe certainly in terms of possible damage and disruption to the theme parks themselves, maybe they got it worse than Disney when it came to the hurricane.
Yeah, it does seem that way. I guess just the way Universal is designed potentially compared to how Disney is designed has really meant that just been impacted more than its counterpart down the road.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Volcano Bay has reopened as of Friday, and the other two parks were to begin reopening on Saturday, the 1st of October, and that included Halloween Horror Nights, which is, of course, underway. So, yeah, I mean, relative normality restored despite some of these pictures, which are quite striking from the Universal parks. There's a picture of what looks to be some pretty severe flooding to the track of the Incredible Hulk coaster.
Yeah.
Now, we have been told that this might be slightly over-egging the reality of the situation so far as Hulk is concerned. So this picture would suggest that that entire section of track where it goes into kind of the under lagoon, underwater tunnel section is completely flooded.
It does look
We've
that
been
way.
told that it does look that way from this particular picture, but as I say, we've been told that maybe it's not quite as bad as that picture would make out. If you're there, if you can send us some eyewitness account of exactly what's happened, that would be great. But yeah, quite a striking picture nonetheless. There's also flood water that's affected City Walk and some of the hotels nearby. The Doubletree by Hilton, for example, parts of the I-4 as well, at Kirkman Road, which anyone who's been to Universal will know very well. So, yeah, it was pretty significant levels of flooding around that area. And then so far as damage is concerned, again, quite a striking picture posted to Twitter of what seemed to be a giant hole blown in the side of the Jurassic Park River Adventure building. I must admit, assuming that no one would have been hurt by this, I am a little disappointed that we didn't get like a T-Rex flying through the air like the cow in Twister.
Like Twister, yeah. Bring Twister back, but have the T-Rex.
Yeah, bring Twister back. R.I.P. Bill Paxton. But yeah, it's one would assume that Jurassic Park is not going to be in a fit state to open with the parks. That's maybe going to take a little bit of work for them to sort out. Hulk, I guess it depends on how easy it is to drain that part of the track.
Yeah,
But,
you need to. I guess you need to drain that, and then you need to go through and do structural stability tests on that piece of track and the footings and that sort of thing to make sure they're all still good and ready to go.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, my heart goes out really to the people who will have to clean up. I mean, one would imagine that this is maybe a job for sort of specialist contractors rather than your average team members. And I don't mean average team members to suggest that the team members are average, but you know what I mean. I'm not sure they may not be qualified to clean up after a hurricane. So
get the Fred lookalike from Hogwarts to come down and start pumping out the water.
Everyone has to pitch in. You just see like Shaggy and Scooby and Spider-Man all out with the mops, cleaning up. But yeah, it's quite striking, isn't it? Because I think, I mean, I remember when I was in Florida for Hurricane Charlie. I remember I was very, very young. I think this was in 2004. And I don't remember it being anywhere near as bad as this. And I think the parks that were, or the park that was hit worst on that occasion was Busch Gardens, which makes sense because obviously it's closer to the coast than these
Yeah.
ones. So the fact that Universal, which is right inland, was hit quite this badly, I think just goes to show how severe this hurricane was, because it would have weakened significantly by the time it got to Universal. So, I mean, it just goes to show quite how powerful it must have been when it first made landfall. I think it was a Category 4 storm when it made landfall in Florida. So, a real serious one.
Yeah, for sure. We had family friends that live out there currently, and they were lucky, relatively speaking. But they went. I think they still might still be without power. I'm not 100% sure on that. They went and stayed at one of the Disney hotels, and they're in a position where they can afford to move into a Disney hotel when they don't have any power in their house. So they're lucky. But as you say, lots of people are in really tough situations right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, for people who had booked trips and were staying on site at the parks, there's quite a good account here in this second article we've pulled from sfgate.com. It's kind of a first-person account of what it was like to be on site at Disney World during Hurricane Ian. So, yeah, anyone who was staying wasn't turfed out. Disney is not quite that heartless.
They're not Centre Parks.
No, no. Why did Centre Parks turf people out and then they U-turned on it and didn't turf them out? But they were going to turf people out. What was that for again? I can't remember.
For the funeral, because they didn't want to, I guess, have staff on site for the funeral.
Of the Queen.
Of the Queen. So yeah, they're going to turf everyone out for the day, and you can come back the next day. It just
It was just presumably that was some very well-paid PR guru who told them that was what they should do.
Yeah.
I mean, Christ alive, there are people out there struggling to make ends meet, and then you've got a very well-paid PR consultant who's making decisions like that. It's absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, I mean, this piece is interesting. It feels a little bit. It kind of brought me back to the early days of COVID, as I said earlier, but in a different sense this time. In that, do you remember when like cruise ships were being quarantined at the start of COVID, and you got these really weird kind of sort of apocalyptic dystopian accounts of what it was like to be stranded on a cruise ship?
Yeah.
And I'm sure Disney cruise ships would have been included in that at the time. And yeah, just the idea of kind of almost camping out, hunkering down, sheltering in this ridiculously themed, very expensive hotel where you can go to a Country Bears dance party to pass the time. I don't know if you saw any of that. It's all just quite surreal. I mean, would you want to be in this situation? Like, if you had to pick somewhere to hunker down from a hurricane, would a Disney hotel be near the top of your list, or would you rather just pitch up a tent outside and take your chances?
I think if I was in Florida, I think if I was in Florida, one of the Disney hotels would definitely be my first choice. They've been through it a couple of times now, or a fair number of times, and they've kind of honed their procedures for this. And I think they do a good job, making sure that, even the people who are camping in the wilderness, it's kind of large area of the park, they all can come inside. If they don't get like rooms, and they can, they plot up in the convention rooms or that sort of thing. The fact that they put on, or people are willing to, do performances as the characters to entertain the kids during this, troubling times. I think it's it's probably one of the good times to be at Disney. Like, it's the one time really that Disney really shines is how they treat guests during kind of moments like this.
Mm, yeah. Yeah, there's some interesting points to that in this article. So, obviously, as I said earlier, there were tons of people that lost power in Florida as a result. This article, at the time of publication, had it up at 1.8 million people in Florida being without power at one point,
Wow.
including many in Orlando. But Disney did not experience blackouts. They've got their own grid, their own generators, and they stayed the course during the worst of the hurricane.
Yep.
They were also selling meal kits to people who were staying there for, which I'm sure would have kept the kids, relatively entertained, along with the country bear dances and other bits and bobs going on, games and films and other characters wandering around games rooms and things like that. So, yeah, look, if you're a kid who might otherwise find a situation like this somewhat confusing and maybe even distressing, the idea that you got Goofy and Chip and Dale and people wandering around to put your mind at ease and kind of restore a sense of normality is, it probably is quite nice to have that going on.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, it will be interesting to see how the parks manage. Like maybe we'll check back in a week and see how they've got on, whether there is any sort of lasting impact from the hurricane on any particular rides or the ways in which the parks are operating. But for now, as of recording, they look like they're going full steam ahead with trying to reopen and get back to normal pretty much straight away. Let's move on from Hurricane Ian, and we've got a double roller coaster announcement from SeaWorld, two different SeaWorld parks. I mean, well, one of them's not really a roller coaster, so maybe we'll start with that one. This is Catapult Falls at SeaWorld San Antonio, and this is claiming to be the world's first launched log flume ride, or maybe not quite a log flume, but a flume ride. This sounds crazy. I would never have considered this as a ride concept that might come to fruition. What do you make of it?
It's an interesting concept. They're describing it as a flume coaster, and I guess it's sort of got elements that maybe you'd see in one of like the aqua coasters on at Volcano Bay, for example, or one of the Disney cruise ships.
Yeah, there's like a rendered video, isn't there, of
Yes.
what it might look like, and it's quite impressive looking. Some of the stuff that SeaWorld say that it'll have includes, as well as the launch, it'll also have a vertical lift. It also says it's going to be the world's steepest flume coaster. So yeah, a few sort of world firsts or America first elements going on there, and it's opening next year. There's some statistics here too: 30 feet per second in terms of the launch speed, 7 feet per second in terms of the lift speed, and the drop is going to be 53 degrees.
Yeah.
And
what's 30 feet per second in like real money? Like what's that work out to as like miles per hour or whatever?
Right, I have no idea.
A measurement that people actually understand.
Yeah, I'm kind of assuming that the fact that they have decided to use feet per second means that maybe in miles per hour it sounds a little bit pathetic. But I think that they would probably say, well, look, it's a log flume.
Yes.
These are things that you would not expect from a log flume, and just because of that, it will impact you in a different way. Like it's not a fair comparison to kind of put it up against a traditional roller coaster.
Yeah. So that's it's 20 miles an hour, which is not bad for a flume. It's pretty quick.
No, that's quicker than Splash Mountain, I would say.
Yeah.
So I'm very much intrigued by this. I mean, SeaWorld, I think for all the ways in which we have been critical and cynical of SeaWorld, not just Orlando, but some of the other SeaWorld parks as well over recent years, some of the ways in which the prices have gone up within the parks, obviously the ways in which that they have had to sort of phase out a lot of their animal experiences, and they've been in a slightly awkward position because of that.
Yeah.
Some of the parks feel like they've got one step in the past, one step in the future, and it's all felt a little bit like they don't quite have a clear identity. But to be fair, the ride additions in recent years have generally been very good, especially on the kind of thrill ride front and the coaster front. So I have faith that this will end up being pretty good. I mean, Infinity Falls is maybe a decent touchstone for what to expect. That's a relatively recent new water thrill ride at SeaWorld Orlando.
Yep.
If that can match those levels, or if Catapult Falls can match those levels rather, then it'll be pretty good, I'd have thought, because Infinity Falls is very impressive.
Yeah, for sure.
The other one that they've announced, which is a roller coaster, is Arctic Rescue. This one is coming to SeaWorld San Diego, also in 2023, and this one is claiming to be the fastest and longest straddle coaster on the West Coast.
Yes.
What is a straddle coaster? Would that be like is Hagrid a straddle coaster?
Yes,
Is
Hagrid
Tron
and
a
Tron.
straddle coaster? Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
So
believe,
this is. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I believe they're also. I think they announced this maybe last week or the week before. Busch Gardens Williamsburg is also building a straddle coaster, which will be an indoor straddle coaster.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So they're all getting in on it.
A Busch Gardens indoor coaster.
Yes, at Williamsburg, so not Tampa.
Right.
At the
okay.
premier Busch Gardens.
Oh, you think so?
Well, I think that is the general opinion. The general
really?
consensus. I think Pastor John would say the same. I've heard similar out there in the wild.
And SeaWorld San Diego, is that not meant to be the best SeaWorld?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not quite as much PR on this one yet, but some stats have got out there. It's going to be speeded up to 40 miles per hour with 3 launches, 2,800 feet of track in total. So they say it's going to be family friendly as well, and that the concept art they've got would suggest that as well. Some pretty young kids on there by the looks of things. But as I just said, SeaWorld's recent coasters in Orlando have certainly been pretty impressive. They've delivered, so no reason to believe that this one won't be good too. And again, there's a kind of a rendered video of what they hope it'll end up looking like, which is worth watching. I mean, I'm just struck by the fact that all of the background music in SeaWorld's kind of previs videos just remind me of Cineworld adverts. I also like how this particular trailer cuts seamlessly from high-speed roller coaster thrills to someone feeding a seal.
Yes. Yeah. Fastest, longest straddle coaster, feeding a seal.
Yeah, we still do animal care, honest.
Yeah, we love animals, honest.
Yeah, indeed. Post-credit scene is just them like taking a whale out back.
Jesus. All right, Willie, it's your turn.
Yeah, it's time to go. We need to close this show down and make room for a new ride. No, but I'm looking forward to it. SeaWorld, as they've had to let's be frank, they've had to deliver on rides in recent times because what they used to have going for them just isn't sustainable anymore.
No, absolutely.
So the rides have got to be good, and to be fair, they have been. So reasons to be optimistic for these two. We're going to round things out, Josh, with something slightly off kilter, I think it's fair to say, but maybe this will be inspiration for your own future, Josh. A couple who got married at a theme park.
Yes. Skeg Vegas,
Skeg Vegas, yeah. They weren't paying, the ridiculous sums that I'm sure Disney demand. I mean, you watched that documentary on Disney Plus, did you not, about Disney weddings? Do you remember how much some of those were?
Funnily enough, they don't mention the prices on that show. Yeah, weird that.
It's in like tiny print.
Yeah.
On an asterisk at the end of the credits.
One of them had the Stanley Cup, which is the trophy that you win if you win all of American ice hockey. So it'd be like the Champions League trophy being at your wedding. I can't imagine that was cheap.
No, absolutely not. This is a write-up from BBC News, so I'll just read some of it. It's pretty fantastic. So Yeah, as you say, a couple swapped Las Vegas for Skeg Vegas and got married at a seaside theme park. Thrill seekers Leanne and Lee Churchill from Derby said their vows at Fantasy Island near Skegness on Tuesday. They originally wanted to tie the knot in Las Vegas, but changed their plans following the coronavirus pandemic. The newlyweds celebrated with guests by riding a roller coaster and eating traditional seaside fish and chips. I mean, that line alone is making me feel pretty jealous. Like, maybe this is a pretty good idea,
Does sound
actually.
pretty good, actually. Yeah.
Roller coasters and fish and chips. I mean, those might be in my top 3 favourite things.
What could possibly go wrong?
What could possibly go wrong? Is there any special occasion on which you would visit a theme park? What is the most special occasion you would be willing to go to a theme park for?
My birthday. I don't know.
Your own birthday.
I've done that.
Haven't you done that? You've done that before, though, right?
Yeah. We used to go to Alton Towers for my birthday. I've been to Disney World for my birthday. Been there, got the T-shirt. I think, whoever I was potentially marrying would have to be hardcore into theme parks for this to be a thing. And I don't think that's going to happen. Not as hardcore as we are, Tom. That's for sure.
No, maybe not. Alas.
Alas would be nice, yes.
Yeah. I also quite like this quote from a rep of the theme park. It was a true honour to host Lee and Leanne at Fantasy Island for their special day. We know how much they love visiting the theme park, so it was amazing to be able to share their wedding day with them. Would Alton Towers, like, if you had to pick a theme park to do something special, would it be Alton Towers? Like, if gun to your head, you have to get married at a theme park, what would suit you best?
Yeah, it depends what they do with Nemesis, I guess.
Right, yeah.
In the UK, I think Alton Towers would be the one. It's probably the most photogenic of all the parks, with the gardens and the castle, or the towers.
What, not Thorpe Park with like the M3 in the background?
And the Staines Massive. No, maybe. Yeah, no, I don't think so.
No.
I think Alton Towers is probably the one. But I think if you're going to do a theme park wedding, it has to be Disney, right? It's got a palace. The palatial castle. What more could you ask for?
What more could you ask for, indeed? All right. Well, that's going to do it for this week's episode of In the Loop. Thank you very much for watching. There's been a lot going on the Park Rush YouTube channel of late, beyond just In the Loop. The Euro Rush travel vlogs are now complete.
Yeah.
The final episode was from Efteling, so do go and watch that if you haven't already. Catch up on the whole series. If you'd be kind enough to do that, that would be much appreciated indeed. There'll be more vlogs on the YouTube channel in the weeks and months ahead. We went to the Jurassic World exhibition at the Excel. I think the vlog will be born from that. We're going to Disneyland Paris later in the year. There will be vlogs from that as well. I've been playing Disney Dreamlight Valley on the YouTube channel and trying my best to be a pro streamer and getting most of that wrong, but just about managing. So there are some streams up on the YouTube channel if you want to catch up with those. I would like to try and find the time to do some more of that, but I'm not quite sure when that will be just yet. And of course, the podcast continues, and we've got this week's show, which is a trip report from Halloween Horror Nights in Orlando. We go through all the haunted houses this year, talk about a lot of the food as well, so a pretty extensive deep dive into that. And next week on the podcast feed, we're going to basically do the same for Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. So 2 of the kind of major theme park Halloween events worldwide are fully covered here on the Park Rush podcast. So go and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts to make sure you don't miss those. We, of course, appreciate subscriptions and likes and all that jazz here on YouTube too. We'll be back next time here on In the Loop. So hit that subscribe button to make sure you don't miss it. Stay safe and take it easy out there. Goodbye.
See ya.